Well, here we are, episode 11, Death
Woo!
Becomes Him.
Yes.
So this episode aired on December 2nd, 1993, which, given the theme of what's going on about like mortality and things, that lends itself to end of the year. We kind of reflect on our lives at the end of the, I always get a little like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a year older, another year has passed. So I do kind of could identify with Frasier in this episode, not to the degree that he did.
Yeah, he got really into it.
It was a bit offensive.
You know what? I had to Google just now because I wasn't sure. Obviously, the title is that a reference to the film Death Becomes Her, but I wanted to make sure that the movie does predate this episode. It does. It was from 1992.
Okay.
This was the reason I even looked it up, honestly, is because I do know that the Frasier Writers Room is obviously very good at sneaking in pop culture references, but I actually was 50-50 on whether it was a reference to that movie or it's a common saying that I just didn't realize was a common saying.
Oh, I never even thought of that. See, look at you.
Yeah, this is what Frasier does to me. I'm just like, oh, it could be the pop culture version of it, or this could just be something where like Frasier is outclassing us once again. But I'm pretty sure it's a movie reference.
Right. And going again back on that theme of death, on the day that this episode aired, Pablo Escobar was killed. So it was the day of death.
It was. Facing his own mortality.
There you go.
Yeah, so I find this episode a little cringe towards the end when Frasier like invades the wake of Shiva. But luckily he has the class to know not to ask the grieving widow why her husband died.
Yeah, there you go.
But he comes very close to just flat out asking, though. Like, he does everything flat out.
Oh, yeah. He definitely inserted himself into a place where he was most certainly not supposed to be.
Yeah.
But wouldn't be a Frasier episode without some hijinks, so.
And some cringe.
Yeah.
So we open on Frasier's apartment where Daphne's telling Niles she's never had a serious boyfriend while setting the table for dinner. Niles made a swan out of a napkin but pretends he didn't when Daphne mentions she likes the gents on the manly side. So we find out later that Daphne has had serious boyfriends, so there's a bit of retconning here, I think.
Or is she just being polite? Because I think most women, we always kind of maybe like downplay our dating history or kind of edit out a couple of partners.
A little after the fact, this made me look bad. So
yes, exactly. And you know what? As I've gotten older, I've kind of condensed boyfriend because it was like maybe a string of the similar type of guy. So I just put it as one whole guy.
That's not a bad point. I also summarize in that way.
And did you notice Niles made a swan out of the napkin?
Yeah.
Very on brand.
No, it was a B-52.
That's true.
I love that.
I also love how that's where he went to instead of like, just throwing it or something. He, had to just reframe.
Yeah. Something manly.
Do men use napkins?
Right? Or handkerchiefs for that matter.
Right.
Well, Niles does.
Right.
At least one man does.
Yes.
Frasier enters and says Martin has skipped his doctor's appointment again. Eddie comes bounding in, signalling that Martin's about to arrive home. Frasier asks Martin about his doctor's trip, which Martin lies about until he's caught out. He doesn't like going to the doctor. Niles suggests a doctor in his building. Martin begrudgingly agrees to make an appointment, but Frasier insists that he'll take Martin personally to ensure he doesn't skip out again.
Did you notice Frasier said that his doctor was a woman?
All right, Dad, fine. If you don't like him, why don't you go to see my doctor? She's one of the finest gastroenterologists in this city.
She? Oh, no way. The doctor's gonna have me bend over. I want to look through my legs and see wingtips.
I thought, oh, okay, Frasier, that's kind of, that's, I don't know if most men would admit that they have a female doctor. Would they? I don't know. We have to get a male's perspective on that. I guess maybe nowadays they don't care.
Yeah, but also think about, like, the way that, like, Frasier, like, the women in his life that he like cares the most about. Look at like Lilith and like his mother.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I could see how he'd
He would
not be
trust a
weird about
woman.
it.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
woman thoroughness, but I can see someone
Mm.
like Marty, like when they had said that he skipped his like he skipped his checkup, I would have
Mhm.
thought it would have been like I thought it was a natural reach for him to be like, yeah, she's a girl and a woman, and I don't want to see
Mhm.
a woman see me naked. But maybe that was just me being creative on my end. But I was like, okay, Frasier, I see you kind of being, supportive of female doctors. Thank
There you
you.
go. Although generationally appropriate that Marty is so resistant to get health care. My parents is like they've definitely refused the
Yes,
annual checkup until it got to a point where they're like, "Why am I sick?" And it's like maybe because you never got looked at.
yes, true. But we'll all be there one day. One day we will be the old cranks that refuses to get whatever test because
Yeah.
we think we know better.
Yeah, no, not me. I don't know. In to that end, I think I'm like maybe Frasier like, I guess. I want to get checked out before anything is even a blip on the radar because like I don't
Yes.
want to die when I'm 40.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't want to be like Dr. Newman.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm team preventative care.
Hmm.
But it sounds like it's pretty thorough doctor's appointment, like EKG and blood panel and all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah, but look
Hmm.
at his age. I mean, like it makes sense. You'd want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
check in on his heart and all of that. Actually, I think this makes me feel old now, given the comment I just made. But pretty sure in my last physical, they also did the EKG. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
yikes! All right. Well, I mean,
That's
I'm
how
not
I'm
Marty's
getting
age, but I
that's how
guess
I'm getting older by the number of tests that they like before they'd be like, oh, we did this, but now they're like, we check this number and that letter and I'm like, what? I used to not need all of these things.
Yeah.
Especially cholesterol. Like they really screen
Cool.
that now. But I remember being young and thinking, cholesterol, that's for old people.
I didn't know there were multiple types of cholesterol, but apparently there's a good
Right.
one and a bad one, and then this mysterious
Mm.
third one that I'm not sure if it's good or bad.
Right. See, I'm like Marty. I'm like, ugh, I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Just yeah.
At Dr. Newman's office, Martin and Frasier have been waiting for half an hour. Frasier goes to check with the receptionist while Martin tries to make small talk with another patient who seems to have several ailments.
What are you here for?
Oh, lately I've been having this overall sluggish feeling. It's hard even getting out of bed in the morning. Not to mention the cold weather. It's really making my joints hurt. I've started to notice flaking spots on my skin. What about you?
I have sensitive nipples.
So I don't know what he was expecting when he asked this woman what she was there for.
Yeah, just
I know.
this is small talk gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. Now I did go down a deep tunnel to find the article or the magazine that was being held by Marty that he got the whole nipple quiz. So it was the 1993 Cosmopolitan magazine. Cindy Crawford was on there, and I did find like a copy on eBay, and the person took like a screenshot of the articles and the index and everything, and I did not see a nipple quiz on there. So I was curious.
I love the depth that you're going to with research, though. I mean, like, I feel like it's our duty, as hosts of this podcast to follow up on the literature wherever
Yeah,
needed.
exactly. I
Mm.
just want to kind of close that loose end for you guys to let you know there was not a nipple quiz in that particular edition of Cosmopolitan.
But you know what that tells us is that Marty's familiar enough with Cosmo magazine in the 90s that that's a plausible thing he could have said.
Yeah. Frasier returns and says the doctor won't be able to make the appointment today. Martin starts getting agitated when Frasier reveals the doctor has died. At KCL, Frasier is talking to Roz about the doctor dying. It seems to have rattled him somewhat, as the doctor was Frasier's age. Roz says she doesn't think about dying, but she does think about the guy she's currently sleeping with dying.
Don't you ever think about your own mortality? Don't you ever think about dying?
Well, not me dying, but you know what I have thought about lately? I've been dating this older guy, and what if, you know, We were in bed together and he dropped dead. Well, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Sometimes he starts breathing really funny, and I don't know if he's having a good time or if I've just overexcited him to some dangerous level.
Someone certainly has a very high opinion of herself.
Everybody's good at something.
Frasier isn't impressed. Another serious discussion has ended up being about Ross's sex life. I love this conversation.
But you know what, though? It's kind of like a legit thing that I think women do think about because, men, their health isn't, they're usually the first to die out of the two of us.
Yeah.
And we, in this scene, we get Frasier's age, which I didn't know, but he was only 41. And that makes me feel a little bit more of my own mortality because I'm 38. I don't like when I start catching up with the characters that I've been watching.
I'll be turning 41 next year, so in about 6 months I'll be season 1 Frasier age.
Season 1 Frasier
Yeah.
age.
That's why
I'm
I've
currently
been buying
46.
all of the books he reads.
Yeah.
I'm a little behind on my Eames chair though.
It's okay.
I want an Eames.
Me too.
So we talk about Roz's sex life, of course, which is delicious to hear because
and her wit and her replies on this is just so funny and quick. I really do feel like Perry Gilpin comes in second to David Hyde Pierce with the comedic timing on those barbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And she's definitely a single woman out there, and she's not thinking about death. She's thinking about her weekend and probably getting a bikini, squeezing in a bikini wax in between.
Did they do that in the 90s?
Oh, I don't know. Did they? Roz, if they did, I'm sure Roz was right there.
Did you order that Cosmo off eBay? We could find out.
I attempted to, but it was $49, you guys.
Oh, that's a lot.
Jeez.
That's a lot.
Inflation's caught up to us, huh?
Yeah. But I like the next scene where we see Frasier. He's in his apartment and he's getting ready to distribute his assets. It's just
Yeah.
I found that to be so funny because it sets it up for this wonderful Niles joke.
The many jokes, because the punchlines came back several times during that episode, and I thought it was just going to be the one. And every time it popped up, just delightful.
And I love how everybody at the table when we're at Frasier's apartment and he's like, okay, I'm going to go through my stuff. And everyone is responding exactly how they would. Frasier, what are you doing? Why are you being so extra? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody wants your African.
That wine, though.
Yeah. So that evening at Frasier's apartment, Niles has just arrived. Frasier's gathered everyone to go over some personal affairs. Frasier's going through the documents. Niles tries and fails to open a jar for Daphne. This is after his whole "I was pumping iron."
Oh yeah, he's pumped so much iron that he can't open a jar, right?
Yes.
Frasier moves on to possessions. He hands out stickers and tells them to write their name on it and stick it to any item they want bequeathed to them. Martin thinks this is crazy, and Frasier reasons it'll stop arguments over things like his African mask, only to find no one wants it.
This is crazy. I'm not going to start putting my name on your stuff.
Dad, what happens if I die tomorrow? You and I'll set up an argument over that African mask, for instance.
It'll never happen. Niles, you can have it.
I don't want it.
Well, don't look at me. I'll throw a towel over that thing when you're not home.
I don't like that African mask.
Nobody likes the African mask or the African sex statue, as one person in the episode calls.
Yeah.
With some things in Frasier's office, in his apartment, I would put a sticker on. I would have definitely put a sticker on the piano, but I think Niles probably already has one. Daphne could care less. Marty could care less.
I think Niles would get all the pricey or culturally significant stuff, and then the rest would just be like, why are we doing this sticker game?
Well, as we saw, Niles wanted the bottle of wine.
You know what? He's got good taste. And he was right. I mean, that was not the appropriate occasion to open that bottle.
I'd put a sticker on the Eames.
Oh, I would too. We'd fight for that one.
And it's not in the apartment yet, but I would have put a sticker on the Chihuly. I love the Chihuly.
I put a sticker on the apartment itself. Like, is the door okay?
Just the door, yes.
Yeah. Just take the whole thing.
Yes.
A family member of so my husband's aunt has put her name on a couple of things that his grandmother owns because she wants them. So it's not an uncommon thing to stick your name on things that you want.
I would be so offended. I don't know how I would feel so offended, but I guess
I'd be like, I'm not dead yet.
exactly. I'm like, all right, you guys, can you at least like put it in an email or something? Like, do you have to put your name on? I guess, call it out, first
Dibs
come
or
first
dibs, I guess.
yeah.
So Frasier gets to the finding of a body which he believes will fall to Daphne. She admits she's had a few patients die on her, and Martin isn't comforted by this. Frasier takes this as a sign to wrap up the meeting and claims to feel better about his mortality now. He proposes to celebrate with a bottle of Chateau Sauterne 75. Niles talks Frasier out of the expensive bottle, and as Frasier goes to grab a different bottle, Niles puts a sticker on the bottom.
It's so simple, but it's so perfect. Truly.
And it sets us up for the next scene in a nice
yeah.
when Frasier's laying on the sofa listening to his heartbeat. Now there was something poetic about it, but it was also like very neurotic as well. But I did like how he was like, our heart does this, it pumps X amount of blood, and I thought that was really cool. But then he like starts going down the obsession about in one tear can be the death of you. And I'm like, okay, Frasier, relax.
Psychiatrist, heal thyself.
Yes. He would be the type of person like that would have the latest tech that could like tell you your oxygen levels.
Oh yeah, he's got an Aura and an Apple Watch and all that stuff in this,
Yes.
But it's 1993, so no.
Yeah, he
insights
wasn't quite.
there.
Yeah. And I like how Marty, he talks about his experience as a cop, and that's a legitimate thing. And I have a relative that was a firefighter, and I mean, cops and firefighters, they, and paramedics, like they have to show up, and there's a level of bravery there, like you don't know, what you're getting into, and having relatives that were firefighters, like what Marty said really resonated with me, where you just like you have to be brave and just kind of go through go through the door. And then Marty's like, and the fact that I got shot has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well, no, in a way, this is just like another of the contrasts between Marty and his two sons, because they by and large, I mean, like, yeah, they went to medical school, but like I feel like they were very white glove about it. And I'm unsure at any point in either Frasier or Niles' career if they ever really had to step up and be brave in a big way, in the way that their father did on a daily basis.
I was just so shocked at how Frasier struggled to accept death, even like on an intellectual level.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that. Yeah. But maybe because he is one who really truly enjoys life and all the pleasures that come along with it. So he doesn't want to shorten that. And he has
true.
a determined chin and a receding hairline and
We're back to the skillet. No, I do think there's also, I mean, just because Frasier does what he does for a living doesn't mean that he doesn't have his own unprocessed stuff. And, clearly death is one of the big ones that he hasn't really come to terms with.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something he thinks about day to day.
Right.
It'll be a different show.
So I looked up that bottle of wine that Frasier proposed that they drink, the one that Niles put a sticker on, and I found a bottle for nearly $2,000.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not the appropriate bottle to celebrate getting your affairs in order.
Right. That's why I was saying, it's Niles was right, but also the sticker move just really sealed it.
Yeah. Well, Niles wants that bottle.
He also wants Frasier's robe.
That's great, Dad. Actually, I do feel better now. Thanks.
Frasier, you got something on your bathrobe.
Niles. The vultures are circling.
That one. I'll leave that one alone. It is funny though.
And I love how Frasier's like, the vultures are circling. It's like, yes, like, it's just such comedic timing.
Well, he asked for it.
Mhm.
He said put stickers on
That's
stuff.
true.
He's asking
He
for
did
it.
ask for it, and frankly, like Niles is the only one that even participated. So
Yeah, he took the instructions literally.
mhm.
Yeah, so we've talked about the scene a little bit, but it's late evening and Frasier's lying on the couch in his robe, eyes closed, fingers in his ears, as Eddie watches on. Martin enters and asks Frasier what he's doing. Frasier's listening to his heart, marveling over the fragility of life. Frasier doesn't understand why he's still worried about something happening to him. Martin tells a story about how he was on a drug bust and watched the first guy that went through the door get shot and died.
Look, son, let me tell you something. There was this time a while back, 7 or 8 of us were on this drug bust. We got the order to go through the front door, and the first guy took one. He was dead before he hit the ground. When you're a cop, you've got to be able to handle things like that, but I just couldn't get over it. Every time I had to go in a blind alley or in a dark building, I just froze. And I knew if I kept being afraid to die, I'd never be able to do my job.
So what did you do?
I just forced myself to forget about it.
You just like that?
Just like that. Next time I came to one of those doors, I went right through it. The fact that I got shot in the hip was purely coincidental.
Frasier isn't reassured, and Martin argues just because the doctor died doesn't mean Frasier's going to die. Frasier knows this, but they're very similar, both highly educated, sophisticated, slightly receding hairline.
Although Frasier doesn't have a Liechtenstein.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't have a Paxton either.
That's not a real one, at least.
So Martin says Frasier doesn't actually know anything about the guy's medical history, which prompts Frasier to decide he's going to find out what caused Dr. Newman's heart attack.
This is the
No, see-
sanest possible course of action.
Yes, I was just like,
Oh,
what
yes.
is going on? Like, I would have never got there. I would have never gone that far. I wouldn't have. I would have scheduled an appointment with my doctor maybe to be like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm good, but I wouldn't have gone that route.
Yeah.
No, and the best part is that he's never met this person. Like it's not even like it was a loose acquaintance that he could like worm his way in. It's a complete stranger.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Sat in the guy's office for half an hour. That's the closest he's been to
Yeah.
him.
But that's a,
Yeah.
you know,
So feeling
this is an interesting kind of examination of something that I didn't connect a dot before. So this is 1993, right? There's
Yep.
the internet exists, but very loosely, I guess, if you will, and social media doesn't. So you could almost see like if in the, if this were 2024, Frasier would feel like a parasocial connection to this doctor from like his online presence or something.
Mhm.
But he has no background information to go on except for like these little crumbs about like, just in passing. So it's kind of interesting and wild that he goes this far opposite that kind of, homework, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing I think
Yeah.
of to reasonably explain why Frasier was acting so obsessively could be because he has been going through so many changes in the short period of time. He's processing a divorce that happened and the big move and his father coming in and then getting settled into his job and maybe expanding his job and so maybe he kind of is feeling like there's so much going on and he has so much hopes and so much life left in him, and to just be to see somebody kind of have that be taken away in an instant. That's the only way. I'm like, why is he so obsessed? But I'm like, well, he has been going through a lot of big changes in the arc of his life.
Feeling fragile makes sense.
Yes, that's the word. Feeling very fragile, definitely.
It's
And
just funny that he parasocially pins it on this dude he's never met and has very minimal information about.
And it kind of goes back.
It's even shown how little he knows about the guy when he actually turns up to the house.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even know he's Jewish.
Or what a Shiva is. Yeah.
But then again, that one pissed me off, but that one ticked me off a little bit because Lilith is Jewish.
Yeah.
So he should have known. But I guess, I don't know, in his frightfulness, he just kind of got a little scattered brain on us. But I'm like, Frasier, you should have known about the Shiva. Even I've never even been to one.
Yeah.
What I know about Shivas I've picked up from Frasier.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like a couple of movies, I think. And then people I work with in law, there's a lot of people who are Jewish, and I know a lot from them. But yeah, I know enough to not to lift up the thing over the mirror.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done that, even if I didn't know what it
because it's
was. I
someone
wouldn't
else's
have
home.
touched it.
Right. It's like
Exactly.
Frasier, when he gets nervous or scared or something, like all his sensibilities just go out the
Just
window.
no social graces whatsoever.
No
Which is
bullshit.
actually a really interesting character moment because he prides himself on being, in his mind, more socially acceptable than most people. So it's kind of funny that he becomes so unbearably cringe.
Yes.
Yes, so on his hunt to find out why Dr. Newman died, Frasier turns up to Dr. Newman's house looking for Mrs. Newman and finds the house is crowded. Talking to a couple of family members, he discovers the family's holding a Shiva. He asks questions trying to ascertain any poor health Dr. Newman might have had, only to find he was in perfect health.
Did you know Gary well?
Well, yes, I did. Well, there was so much more I wanted to know about the man, you see. I don't know. Listen, how was his health before he died?
It's excellent. He was never sick.
History of heart disease?
Oh, no.
High blood pressure?
No.
High cholesterol?
No.
Do you know what his HDL was in comparison to his LDL?
No.
He escapes the conversation and is finally able to approach Mrs. Newman. So that whole conversation, I feel like, was very inappropriate. He's just quizzing this poor woman on like medical stuff.
Well, it's not even just that, because he's like, if you look at it from her perspective, he's in there under largely false pretenses, as positioning himself as someone who knew Dr. Newman. But isn't that kind of worse?
Yeah.
Now, I did do some research about this because when I was observing this scene, it vaguely reminded me of a scene from the movie Wedding Crashers, where one of the crashers is a funeral crasher.
Yeah.
And, he kind of says that, like, funerals make people horny, and the grief and the loss and things. And I actually read some articles and said that that's true, so that can kind of explain some of the ick of Frasier getting the girl's number in the end. But also, I've found an article that says that there are people who are professional mourners. Like, their job is to be hired to show up at people's funerals and like fake cry and everything, and they make money off of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's essentially it's an opportunity for actors, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And then the one article I read, it was this guy, he says, he does a character study. Sometimes the family members might say, okay, you're going to be so-and-so's coworker from 20 years ago, like, and then he even said that sometimes family members will even say, like, try harder, try more.
Yeah, whatever works
That's
for
crazy.
their process, I guess. I mean, like, grief is a weird thing, and everybody's got their own way of handling it. Obviously, Frasier is pre-grieving his own death, but I think it's interesting too how, like, one thing that really struck me about the Shiva scene is obviously, like, Frasier's being over the top, but he's getting along fairly well with everybody there. Do we notice this? Like, he's working the room, and I thought that was kind of funny.
They're recognizing him. They're like, "Oh, you're from the news, or you're from the radio," And I think that would happen in real life. Like, if it were like, if a podcaster or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, you're from the show. You're from," So it's very authentic.
Yeah, it's just funny how it kind of worked out that way.
From the radio. So Mrs. Newman is touched that Frasier made the effort to pay his respects despite not knowing Dr. Newman well. Frasier starts to explain his reason for being there, but then realizes it's a bad idea and tries to leave. I'm glad he stops himself.
Yeah, it's like a measure of sanity in this weird effort.
And I could feel something was going to happen, and I was like, "Is he going to hook up with the wife?" Like, but then it kind of future paces it a little bit to the other woman. But you kind of got a sense, like, there's like this awkwardness and this flimsiness, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, he could," But thankfully, he didn't cross that line. That would be really low.
He crossed it with a couple of other guests, but at least he didn't do it with.
Yes, that's right.
So Mrs. Newman stops him and asks for advice. She asks what he would tell someone who can't get over why someone died.
No, wait. Dr. Crane, I listen to you all the time, and well, maybe you could help me. What would you tell someone who called in the show and said they can't get over why someone died? I keep running this over and over in my mind, and I just can't understand how someone like Gary, who did everything right, can just die. I can't make any sense of it.
Mrs. Newman, I know you'd like me to come up with some grand answer to this whole thing, but I don't have one. Someone who consumes nothing but cigarettes and cheeseburgers all his life can live to be 83, and then someone who takes care of himself can die at 41. It's unfair. There's no explanation for it. Believe me, I've checked. But I suppose the best we can do is live for the little joys and surprises that life affords us. You can't spend your life being obsessed with death.
You're not Jewish, are you?
Frasier isn't able to come up with some grand answer, but offers comfort, saying that the best we can do is to live for the little joys and surprises life affords us. We can't spend life being obsessed with death.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
You're not Jewish, are you? I love that recurring joke.
Yeah. Well, I love his response where he goes in that circuitous, like, my ex-wife, and therefore I said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I liked what he said, because what he said there is exactly what he would have said on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he goes to leave. And Bobby, one of the relatives from earlier, says what Frasier said was beautiful. Frasier agrees, though to himself wishes he believed it. Just as he's about to leave, an attractive young woman approaches him and gives Frasier her card, wanting to see him again. Frasier suddenly realizes life isn't too bad after all.
Now, if that were me, I would have slipped him my number, but maybe not indoors. I probably would have stepped outside to the pool, as he was going to his car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it right in front of my relative, but I definitely would have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hey.
Hey, here's my
Here's
card.
my shot. Life is short.
I love how in the 90s everyone has a little business card.
Oh, yeah. Well, because we weren't carrying our phones with us all the time. So,
But do you know, even to this day, I still will want to write my phone number down. I still want to, I did that a month ago when I met a parent of one of my kids' friends, and I wrote my number down, and he looked at me when I handed him the number, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
What am I supposed to take a picture of this?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't like opening my phone in front of people, because Lord knows it's gonna pop up, because you've got just so much of your life is on your phone.
Mm-mm.
And I always feel a little awkward unlocking my phone in front of people, because I don't want them to see whatever's on there. Not that it's anything horrible, but just still, it's private. It's like when a woman opens her bra and grabs money out of it.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. Yeah.
So what did we think of the episode?
It was a nice filler. I felt like it was probably okay. I liked it more than Oops with the bulldog. But I felt like it was an okay one,
Yeah. It was enjoyable. I think I just, episodes like this make me just kind of want to shake Frasier, because just dude, get out of your own head.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then I thought, more Roz, please. We need more Roz. We need more Niles.
Yeah, she wasn't in it very much.
No.
She just had that one scene in KACL.
But that kind of makes sense, because it's if it's the holidays, things are winding down. She's probably, whatever. So she's probably not even really caring about Frasier and whatever he's got going on. She's probably focusing on her own social calendar. Yes, life / social calendar.
Making sure the guy she's dating doesn't die.
Yeah. I'm sure she was getting ready for her 12 days of Christmas. So yeah.
Stocking stuffers.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, not bad at all. But thinking about death is a difficult thing, and I like how the episode did handle it, because it is something that you talk about as a psychiatrist. So yeah.
In the end, Frasier just gets over it. He just moves on. He drops the obsession.
Well, he got a phone number, so
he did.
Yeah, it's like a shiny object to distract him.
So the future possibilities, I think, helped him move from point A to point B on that point. Like I think he was like, okay, I'm gonna move past this and enjoy. Mhm.
Yeah, getting the number was one of life's little joys and
It
surprises.
Yes.
Amazing.
And I can see someone like Niles being a professional mourner. I don't think he would cry, but I think he would be really good at like showing up. I always
He always wears a suit, so
yes.
he's prepared.
Daphne would probably be a
Mm.
professional mourner. I can see her doing that like as a side hustle.
She'd also
And
drop some
talking,
like psychic things about
yeah,
like
just
the
talking.
deceased.
Comfort from the other
Yes,
side.
Exactly.
and talking like my
Mm.
Grammy Moon once told me. I can see that. So yeah, death becomes him.
Episode 11?
Episode 11.
We're almost halfway through season 1
I
now.
know.
Almost. Okay,
Yeah.
so hang on. Circling back
Mhm.
to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode with the title, right?
Yeah.
I'm scraping my mind for connections to themes from that film, right?
Mhm.
And I think Frasier went through, albeit in a very different route, a very abbreviated version of the themes of that movie. I mean, like he was afraid of death. He wanted to put it off. He wanted to, go seek out the truths about how to not die young. And then by the end of it, he kind of reached a point of, chilling out. So, hey, parallels.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Walking in the minds of the writers. I see that.
Mhm.
And
I also really want to watch that movie again. It was hilarious.
what year did it come out?
92.
92. Okay. I gotta find it.
It's on streaming. I think it's either on Prime or Max right now.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I may consider. I might not buy the Cosmopolitan magazine, but I did see the TV guide for sale on eBay from November 1993, where Kelsey Grammer is talking about the tragedy of his life and all the tragic things that happened, and so that was a piece that they wrote in the November TV guide of 1993. So
Yep. Is that reasonable on eBay?
yeah, it's like $5. That I will do.
Okay. A little Frasier memorabilia.
Yeah, I might start my little Frasier museum here in my house, you guys.
I support that. I have a whole
Yeah.
space carved out on my bookshelf for the same. You know.
I'm going to still save up for the Eames.
I mean, fair. Oh, you know what? Because we just had. I don't know if the timing of when we publish this episode is going to be different, but whatever. It was just Christmas. I got the DSM-5 for Christmas as a very Frasier like.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, well, I
How
also
does
it's
it
a
feel?
textbook for next
Feel
term,
good.
but yeah, it feels good. That thing is huge. I also got there's like a pack of these little tabs you can get to not have to look through the index for any given thing, so it's kind of nice.
Is there a diagnosis
That's good.
for fear of death? What would it be like? Morbophobia or something? I wonder what.
I don't know if the DSM-5 goes as granular about phobias, but
Oh.
I mean, it definitely could be associated with some of the other disorders. I mean, like, but it's not persistent. That's the thing. It lasts the duration of this episode, so I don't know if we'd want to call that a diagnosis, but
exactly. Yes, it's a situational blip on his.
Yeah. Now, if you were like just paranoid for the remainder of the series, then yeah, we should look into what criteria he meets. But but anyways, that was
Yeah, it was just for an episode.
yeah, exactly. Oh, you could call it a brief episode. It was really anyways.
What's the next episode? Episode 12, which is what's the name of that one?
That is Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we get the Christmas episode coming up. Look at that timing.
Christmas episode.
Yep, that's our Christmas one. Okay.
All right.
I look forward to that. I probably will watch that soon just because we're still in that post-Christmas winter, nostalgia. I feel like after January 1st, you really got to put all the Christmas stuff away. You got to put all the Christmas and move on. So
my Christmas decorations, I think, are more of like the Maris school of thought. I don't put any up.
Yes, but for anyone listening, we recorded these episodes in advance, so it's just after Christmas at the moment.
Yes, it is. Yes, we're getting ready to welcome 2025.
Oh man, you just robbed me of the opportunity to make a joke about knowing I got the DSM-5 for Christmas because I'm a wee bit psychic.
Don't try to
Oh.
compete with Daphne. Only
Oh,
Daphne.
I definitely can't. I definitely can't.
Oh, well, all right, ladies. Another episode in the books.
Yep, that was episode 11. Death Becomes Him.
Well done.
Not a bad episode. Bit of a filler.
Mm-hmm.
Onward through
Frasier was a
season
bit
1. Yeah,
cringy.
well, you know,
Right.
cringe isn't the worst.
Yeah, and next week we'll be tackling season 1, episode 12, Miracle on 34th Street. First Christmas episode.
There we go.
Thank you for listening.
So much fun as always.
Bye.
Bye.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Good night, Seattle. We love you.